It could be, but we were just talking about how progressives are really happy about all of the things in the infrastructure bill. They are really being led in many ways by the progressive wing of their party, and the progressive wing of the Democratic Party does not want to go hard against Cuba, against some of the things that the Castro regime may have been a part of, in part because there are some Democrats, there are some progressives who agree with some of those things. They agree with universal health care. They agree with some of the programs that were in place in a more socialist kind of society.
Yeah, universal health care, that's garbage. That was a Washington Post reporter telling CNN Socialist Democrats are going soft on Cuba's oppressive communist government. Some of their hosts over there, by the way, at CNN expressed their open support for inhuman communism. Joining me now is a New York Congresswoman who doesn't like communism, Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman, always great to see you. You've criticized New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for being a communist sympathizer after she condemned the U.S. embargo that keeps U.S. dollars from enriching the communist thugs who keep their boots on the throats of the Cuban people. Now, some say the Congresswoman is simply too stupid to have a grasp of geopolitical politics, but I disagree. I think she knowingly supports oppressive government control over entire populations of people. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone would be surprised to learn that she would want to prop up the regime, the communist regime in Cuba. And that is all that lifting the embargo would do. And I think people need to understand, well, they say, oh, well, nothing's changed in 60 years. Why would you keep the embargo? Well, you know what? They've done business with nearly every other country in the world, and nothing's changed in 60 years. So clearly, placating the Castro regime would do nothing to actually help the people. And anything that comes into the island, whether it's money, whether it's food or medicine, it goes straight to the regime, and they use it to weaponize against their own people. If you don't go along with their communist agenda, you get nothing. Okay, and that is the way that they have been able to keep control and power for 6 decades. So certainly, the United States of America should be looking to be the leader of the free world right now, work with democracies from around the world, freedom-loving leaders from around the world to push the regime out, bring freedom and democracy to this island, allow these individuals to continue to demonstrate for the short term, and restore internet service so we can see what is going on there and let the world see how they are beating and arresting and abducting and also shooting their own people.
Yeah, I'm hearing some folks have lost their lives in their battle for freedom. Meantime, back here at home, Joe Biden, it looks like he's lost control over the pandemic. Many point to his ushering in over 1 million illegal aliens in the first part of this year. Some of them confirmed to have the China virus, even the Delta variant. Last week, we learned that Biden is using Air Force bases to redistribute illegal aliens and the virus to unknown destinations. However, when it comes to Cubans seeking refuge from communist Cuba, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said loud and clear, Cubans are not welcome. What do you think is behind this double standard?
Well, look, it's definitely a clear double standard. And I'll say one other thing. I had a constituent who whose father can't come from Europe to come to their wedding because of policies that are being put in place that is preventing that travel from Europe. Yet you see people crossing the border in an irresponsible way. They're not being tested, even if they have symptoms. And certainly, they're staying at facilities where they are, 900% over capacity. So certainly there is a double standard here. When it comes to the Cubans, look, I don't want Cubans to risk their lives and go and navigate these waters where we've seen just a couple of weeks ago, more Cubans have died trying to flee Cuba on makeshift boats. But we should, if anyone deserves asylum, it is the Cuban people, because they are truly fleeing a communist regime, and that is what asylum is supposed to be for. And so it is a double standard, and you're right. There is probably something political behind it, unfortunately, because they know that the Cuban people aren't going to come here and vote Democrat for the same socialist policies that they're fleeing right now. And that may be part of the equation here. It's not politically suitable for the Democrats. But I have to say, President Biden doesn't do something right now to help the Cuban people, to help bring democracy or push the agenda or speak out stronger, he's never going to win Florida. The Democrats will never win Florida again.
Well, I can guarantee you it's political. There's no doubt in my mind this is all political. I want to move, speaking of the White House, they're infringing on our First Amendment rights. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki tore into a Fox reporter. I think it was Peter Ducey who asked this question when he confronted the White House on their spying on Americans. Listen.
For how long has the administration been spying on people's Facebook profiles looking for vaccine misinformation?
Well, that was quite a loaded and inaccurate question, which I would refute.
How?
Well, Peter, first of all, as you know, we're in a regular touch with a range of media outlets.
And we expect the White House
As
to watch
let me
you
finish.
Fox, but
As
we
we
can post
are
on Facebook,
as we are in regular touch with social media platforms. This is publicly open information. People sharing information online, just as you are all reporting information on your news stations.
Congresswoman, all Psaki has to do is claim that every Republican spews disinformation as a predicate to silence their voices online. What Biden is really after is to silence dissent, just like all dictators do. Your reaction?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is something that you would see in communist China or in Russia or Cuba. You don't see that here in the United States of America, where we have freedom of speech. Okay, this to me is definitely a slippery slope. My colleagues and I have all been talking about this. We're going to continue to push back on this because it is completely outrageous that they would monitor. And in fact, the other day I put a video of a individual in Cuba being beaten, assaulted, and they labeled it as sensitive content and covered my video. Of course it's sensitive content, but it needs to be seen by the world. You know, we cannot allow this to happen, and we must as Congress take action, continue to push back and hold these social media platforms accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Social media running interference for the butchers in Cuba. Absolutely
Where
amazing.
were they when they were talking about Russia, when they were talking about Russian collusion and all these other things? Where were they then? You know, Hunter Biden's laptop.
No kidding.
They took all those articles off very quickly.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, always appreciate the time.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.